I knew I wanted to use some of these punch outs from the Weekend Adventure Scrapbooking Workshop Kit. So I created a sketch on my Cricut trying to feature some of these cutouts. So this is the sketch I came up with. I'm not sure if that'll be my title. It was just an idea while I was putting this together. But as you can see, I have a bunch of these strips here and over here. This one is somewhere in my bag. I'll have to go find that. These are also strips. These just punch out. They're super easy to punch out. So I'm wanting to use these. So I created this sketch specifically around these. I may need to do some adjusting. I did print my pictures, these sizes. I'm just not sure if this is going to come over a little bit more or how that's going to look exactly. As you can see, these aren't spaced perfectly. I got impatient while creating on the computer, but I will space them out nicer on my actual layout. The reason I turned to my Cricut and created a sketch was because I had a ton of photos on my phone. So I sat there with my phone and my computer and I looked at how many pictures I could fit. And I know what I typically print my sizes at. So I have a couple 4x6s, 3x4s, 3x4s, and 3x3s. And then I did leave room for some journaling here. So then I could look at which pictures I have, how I could crop them down, what sizes I liked. You know, I usually print the ones that I like best, larger. So then I could kind of place them and see how many photos I could fit on a 24 by 12 inch layout. And then, like I said, I specifically wanted to use these. So that's why I turned to my Cricut, and I think I'm going to be doing this a lot more just because I'm not locked in the craft room avoiding people. I mean, sometimes that's nice, but when me and my husband are reading or watching TV, it's easier for me to just have my laptop there and I can kind of multitask rather than ignoring him completely and going to my craft room. Although he goes to his garage and does projects, so I think he kind of likes when I lock myself in here. But I hope that putting that sketch together allows this layout to come together faster. So I'm just going to punch all of these out, grab my Versamats, and we'll get started. I knew I wanted to use the Weekend Adventure cardstock or paper collection to match these strips since I'm bringing in those die cuts or those punch outs from the scrapbooking workshop. But none of the cardstocks, I mean, wood grain goes with everything, and I do have the Country Woods collection. I might be able to pull some wood grain out from that too, but all the other DSPs I wasn't liking with my photos, and I'll bring those in a minute. But like this one, I feel like you have to use that very sparingly. It kind of hurts my eyes. This one, it just almost seemed like the wrong red because I want to bring in that lighter shade, and it is like if you use the light side of the cardstock, that matches good. So what I decided to do was bring in just plain cardstocks that match this collection, and I can bring in some more stickers and more of those punch outs to bring in these colors. But I think I might create my own pattern paper. I might do some background stamping on one or both of these and create my own pattern paper that way. But I liked how these colors went with my photos the best. I have a lot of green in the photos, and I'll bring those in here. But let me grab some Country Woods and see if I like any of those better. Here's one of the Country Woods papers. I like it with my photos, but once I start bringing these browns in, I'm not loving the brown on the brown. So let's see if maybe I can find a more tan or gray. This one's a little too light now, I think. And I have the up and down stripes here. And then I have it striped this way too, more of like a palette would, you know what I'm saying? Plus, I think I would need to double mat this too, which I could. I could bring in that blue that way and mat it there. I don't hate that option. What if I switched these around? What if I did this one over here and kind of separate that stripe, you know, and then maybe bring blue in so that I don't have the red on red. So then if I did that and then, oops, and then trying to go off my sketch, it would be something like this. And then I could map my photos with the red to make that stand off a little bit more. That could work. Then I wouldn't have to make my own pattern paper. That's still an option though. Let me see what else I have for wood grain. What's on the back of this? Now this one's a little dark. I don't know if I want to go that dark. It makes everyone's coats and sweatpants stand out though. And then bring in some red this way. I could do that. And then my title is supposed to go over here according to my sketch. So I could do my title in red also, and it would stand off of these two colors nice. Is this too bold and plain, or do we like having the break in pattern paper? Since I'm going to have patterns along this side, pattern paper behind these photos. I kind of like this dark one. Let me keep going. This one's a little lighter. And I think it might help my dog stand out in the pictures. And she's going to be center of attention on the next page. So, could do that. And yeah, she does really match that. And then bring in a punch of red with that. Okay, that's the winner. I'm going to do that. And then this will be my photo mat. So I don't need to make my own pattern paper now. So I'm going to start cutting some papers. I cut my papers and I have my photos ready. So my journaling was going to go under here. These photos are hilarious. So our friend's daughter had a pancake and she was carrying that thing around for like an hour. She was carrying that pancake like it was her security blankie, right? So she wasn't actually eating it. Here it looks like she is, but she was just carrying it. It was just for her to carry. Well, my Dane finally had enough and she took the pancake. She actually took it so carefully. She did not, there were no tears, nothing. She just nicely took the pancake. But it looks like her entire arm is in her mouth. And then here you can see she has the pancake and she's like, "What? You took my pancake." So it was actually hilarious. And that is the sequence of the happenings there. We were all laughing pretty good about that. And then I have these two here, so cute. And now I'm second guessing if I even need the red. I think it would bring in more red from my title. I'll do in red or white, probably red. And then having these over on this side, I do think it'll help bring in red. I just don't know that I need it anymore because the white does pop off of both of these. So do I want to do all the photos with a red mat? Do I want to pick and choose some that I want with the red? I don't know. This was the next morning. So we were all camping and this was the morning. We all had breakfast together and obviously we had pancakes and they were grilling up some meats and yeah. So I like how this brings the green, you know, over to the pictures. So I think I do need red. Maybe if I do like 1, 2, 3 and mat these together on red, that would just kind of help your eye travel across, and then we'll have the red over here too, you know, coming across. I'll make sure it's lined up with this one. Let's do that, and then these 4 could just stay with the white, no red. When I created the sketch, I intentionally wanted what would be the blue to be up higher. I didn't want it to be completely centered like I normally would. And I don't dislike that, but I almost feel like I need something to go across then. There's a lot of open space here, and then this comes further down from these photos. So it almost looks out of balance to me. I feel like these photos do need to come down and kind of be centered with these three. So I am going to center the blue now that I have it on my layout and I'm actually looking at it. And then, yeah, these will line up. So I think I could have more coming out on this side than I do this side. I don't need to have them completely matching in that sense. These are just over an inch. To make it easy, I think I'm just going to do an inch on this side, and then what's left I can do over here. So these are 3 inches long. If I do an inch here, I can do 2 inches here. So I'm just going to take my small trimmer and trim an inch off of all of these. As I was putting this layout together, or lining these up and whatever, I kept trying to come up with my title. And I thought of Pancakes for Two because of the... Whoa, I ran out of tape. Okay, before adhering this down, I decided to add a little spice. So I used the Starstruck embossing folder and embossed both of the blue pieces. I like how it brings that white in. I might try to distress these two to reveal more white. So I'm just going to use my little piece of sandpaper here. I cut this out of sandpaper from my husband's garage. And then I can take my paper and just kind of reveal that edge and rough that up a little bit more. And I don't want to do it over my layout because it does get blue everywhere. So I'm going to take this off camera and distress the edges. I'm trying to decide what color title I want to do. So I cut out these. This is an old Close to My Heart alphabet set. So I cut out red and white, and it actually cuts out that frame and the inside piece at the same time. So I have all of the inside pieces as well. And I did try white with like a red or a green, but it almost seemed like too much white with the rest of my title. So I could do that, or like that. And I do like that as well. What color would you guys do? I almost think the red is too much red. So I think I'm going to opt out of the bold red at least, so that it's not so much red. But I could still use the red frame. So do we like, and I don't think I want to do red and green together. I think I would rather do white and red or green and red. So do I want to have more green or less green? Do I want a little pop of red? I'm leaning towards green now because I have my red frames. So then the green could come over. So let's opt out of the red. Do I want bold green or just a touch of green? I'm thinking this one. I could even do some treatment on it to make the white a little less white. I could ink over the top and do kind of like an ombre or something over the top of the white. So as you guessed, this is going to spell pancake. And as I was trying to come up with a title, I was thinking The Pancake Thief, Pancakes for Two, Pancakes, Puppies and Pancakes. And then ultimately, I decided to come up with Pancake Posse. I think it was clever. I love it. The Pancake Posse, get it? And then in my journaling over here, I think I'm going to say the pancake thief and then tell the story over here in my journaling. So I love the pancake posse because, yes, the story is all about these here, the pancakes for two, the pancake thief, but we all had pancakes. So the pancake posse, and then over here I'll tell about the pancake thief. To adhere these down, I am going to use my Bearly Art Precision Craft Glue. I got my title spaced out here, and I've decided I was going to ink around these white pieces. So I did kind of a little ombre effect with my blending brush. I did use Limeade just to bring in a lighter shade of green. This is darker. I just wanted to bring in some lighter since we have it in our photos. It matches perfectly with her jacket. So I got that. I got these pieces adhered down. So all I need to do is pop those in, and then I have the inside pieces to go, on the P's and A's. I got my title down. I created a little cluster over here, and then I am adding my journaling here. And originally I had thought about typing it up and putting it on some vellum or something, but I actually don't have any vellum, and because I have the texture now, my my adhesive won't stick if I do like Avery Clear shipping labels. So then from those punch outs, there were these strips, and I thought I could use those for my journaling. They're a little wider than I would want, so I'm going to cut them in half. And I could even cut them lengthwise so I could stagger them a little bit. But I think that's how I'm going to do my journaling right there. And it kind of brings in more of that grayer tone too up to this area. And I did use a Spotlight on Nature die here to bring over some of the white from my title. Because of this texture, I do need to write on my journal strips first before I adhere them, so I will do that off camera and get those adhered. But I thought I would bring this up closer. I love this technique. I'm glad I thought to do that, and I might have to do more of that on some future layouts. I did some ink blending on the title. I thought the title was very clever. Came up with that all on my own. Pretty proud. Thanks for watching and spending some time with me today. Until next time, live a life worth scrapping. Bye, guys.